Hey guys, Milchi here. So this is a playbook or really an over the shoulder of me going through, I think, one of the most underutilized tools available to you and everyone else, and that's TradingView's screener. It's on the right hand side here. Yeah, the screener. I never see anyone talk about it on CT, even, among the TA traders, which if you are, I think it's an absolute must. As crypto traders, how do you identify opportunities and separate it from the noise, right? There's over 10,000 tokens now available in the market. You need some sort of systematic filter, right? Most people, even myself, sometimes we doom scroll X and then we see something that's hype, but we know the issue with that is it's us following herd behavior. So, like, even if that's and that's okay. Like, I'm not saying don't use X or don't use Twitter, but even if you do, and that's your primary method of identifying possible gems, you still need to use some sort of screener, right? Use the Twitter list, and you would curate high signal accounts only, and you'd only look at them rather than every single thing that pops up on your For You tab. So that in itself is like a quote unquote screener. A screener also helps you should help you understand the whole market conditions as a whole, since it does offer you like that bird's eye view of yeah everything that's going on. So essentially, that's the objective of today's video. I'll be going through how I use TradingView Screener, how I've set it up, and essentially the three use cases. So number one is understanding market breadth. Number two would be looking for opportunities to short, and then number three, looking for opportunities to long. So, number one, market breadth. Okay, what do I mean by market breadth? So that's a term or concept that's used within TradFi, used within equities and stocks, and it helps you to gauge an overall understanding of the health and the participation of the stock market by looking at how many stocks are rising versus how many are falling within an index. So, as an example, S&P, right? You got the S&P 500, which tracks the top 500 stocks. You might see the S&P or really the ES, which is the tradable product. It goes up by within a day. I don't know. Let's say it goes up by like 3%. But what's driving that 3%? Is it is it all 500 stocks? Or is it just the one stock? Or is it just Nvidia that's driving it up? Obviously not. Obviously, one stock cannot drive the whole index up 3%. But just to use an example, showing the concentration of what's actually driving the market, either up or driving it down. So that's what we refer by market breadth, right? So strong breadth is you've got many stocks rising at the same time, and that suggests that it's a healthy and sustainable rally. On the other end, you've got weak breadth. So that's only a few big names. So the Mag 7, Tesla, Nvidia, Meta, whatever. It's only a few of them are rising, whereas the rest of the stocks are falling. Then that would signal fragility, right? In the rally, it's a top heavy market. It's only being driven by a select few number of stocks. So that's a concept that's used in TradFi. Actually, I should have shown you this. Sorry. So this is FinViz, which yeah. So these here, that's market breadth. How many is above the SMA, simple moving average, versus how many is up again. So that's a relatively slow moving average. This is this is the relatively quick moving average, and this is relatively the slow moving average because it's a 200 period and 50 period. And you want to say today, right, how many stocks are above it or below it, right? So that's sort of market breadth. So in crypto, it's how do we get the crypto equivalent? How do you get that broad overview of the whole market? So like how do you know what regime we're in? Are we risk on? Are we risk off? you are seeing, for example, the total market cap. Let's say, for example, it's up by 2% on the last 24 hours. And then you've noticed that trend in the last couple of days, right? It's going up. But is that again driven by a handful of coins, or is it driven um by a lot of coins, right? Which is a sign of health. So there's different ways that you can do this. Right, you can look at gainers and losers, but yeah, look, these coins, look, we just saw now that the market cap's down by 0.2%, was it? And then what's driving that? Is it because of these few? Right, look, it's kind of hard to gauge by this. Even with something like this, like the heat map or a bubble map, um, yeah, you can see the market's down 0.2%. You can see, it's driven down by, Aero being the largest, virtual STRK, FET, FET. But then you've also got a couple going up as well, which with larger percentages. So it's sort of in my opinion, it's a bit of a harder gauge using these. Whereas I think using the TradingView screener is a lot easier. So what I do is if you go to, so this is my screener. This is how I've set it up. So you can add filters. So I've used Binance as a kind of a representation of the entire market, sort of like the S&P 500, because Binance, Binance doesn't list the most crypto perps, because you can see here, Binance exchanges, derivatives. So we are looking at perps because there's more perps market than the spot markets. So you want, capture the broadest view. Sorry guys, I don't know why it's so slow today. Okay, so yeah, look, it's got 627 perps, and it doesn't list the most, right? You see here Bybit, Gate, but then it also has the most trading volume. You can see here by far, like almost three times or more the second and third there. So 627. So what I do is if you go back to TradingView, I want to see how many tokens are up under certain conditions out of those 627. So sorry for jumping back and forth. So the two filters I have here, right? So level one is tokens where the price is above both the fast and slow moving averages. And I use 20 EMA and I use 50 SMA. And then even faster than that, so even like, this is early into the move up. This is further into the move up. So they're starting to accelerate. And this is price above both the fast and slow moving averages. So it's the same as level one. Plus, in addition to that, you've got the crossover, right? You've got the fast moving average crossing over or above the 50 SMA, which is the slower moving average, relatively slower moving average, right? And then you've got the rest of the market. So this is representing the whole market. So you saw just now, we're using Binance perps, Binance perps, and we saw here that it was what 600 and what 30 was it? Yeah, 627, 600. Let's just say 637 perps or tokens. So you want to see how much percent of this of level one coins represent the total, how much of this represents the total. So hypothetically, let's say we look at level one, right? And it represents, let's say, half of all Binance perps. So or like, let's say, for example, the majority actually, let's say the majority of it. So you know that if the market's moving up and you're seeing that, coins representing good price appreciation makes up most of these perps, then you know it's a healthy market. So the next level, the accelerating ones, if you're seeing this as being representing a much larger percentage of the total market, again represented by Binance perps, then you know that's even we know that that's like the typical like alt season where everything's moving up, right? But in contrast, if for example these are small, the market's moving up, but the market's moving up, but these two only represent a tiny bit of total market, then that's what we were calling as weak breath, right? The whole market is being pushed up by only a few number of tokens, so it's pretty top heavy. It shows fragility, right? So that tells you that tells me whether we're risk on or risk off. So that's the concept. So in practice, if you go back to here, so this is level one. You add price being above both the quick moving average, slow moving average, and you can see here there's a total of 45 tokens. So again, 45 out of that 630. Uh, what's that? 7? Is that 7%? Sorry, my math is really bad today. Yeah, is that like 7%? About 7%. So I wouldn't say, yes, I wouldn't say that that's a strong breath. And we saw like the market in the last 24 hours only moved like it's moving down actually. So I wasn't expecting a large percentage. But yep. So that's level one, right? Going back to this, we saw. Sorry, let me just tidy this up. We saw that was about 7%. So 45, which was 7%. So to me, that's yeah, a weak breath. Sorry, weak breath. So that's level one, right? We look at all tokens where it's above the fast and slow moving average. So let's look at level two. So I actually assume it's going to be a lot smaller than 7%, obviously, because it has to be less than this, right? All right. So to add in that extra filter, what did we want? We want the crossover. So the 20 EMA is above or below the 50. Where is it? SMA 50. Okay. Yep. 36. Okay. So 36 symbols. So that's 36. Which is about 6%. Yeah. So 6%, 7%. It's weak breath, right? So clearly we're not anywhere near being on a risk on environment. We're very much on a risk off environment. But I hope you kind of understand that's how I use again the screener to understand current market conditions. Yeah. Okay. So second use case, um, identifying short opportunities. So I've got Yeah, blow off shorts. Okay, so these are my conditions for identifying short opportunities, and unfortunately, I would have loved it to all be within the one screener, except it's not. So what a each person is different. Like you might have your own methodology for identifying short opportunities, and the idea is that you write down what these conditions are for you to then consider something as a short opportunity. And then you need to then go out there and screen the 10,000 plus tokens and identify those ones, right? That's the whole point of having a screener. For me, there are four things I look for. Primarily four things I look for. Sometimes ad hoc I might come across other things. Yeah. Number one is I want to look at RSI is at least above 70. Obviously, if it's above 80, if it's above 90, then it's more likely that it's overheated, right? So you can start off with 90, nothing really there. Go backwards, 80. Esports, okay, 70. We saw just before too, right? So let's have a look at these. So just add that, and then what it does, it gets added to your watch. What it does, it gets added to your watch list. Yeah. So I've added Resolve and Esports here. But let's whoops. Let's just yep. So let's just go through the other conditions. RSI, yep. Overheated. I also look at yeah. So this is again, we just use Binance as a representation of of volume and market, the broader market. Quote USDT, I've always got this volume. Okay, so I want to look for overcrowded trades. If the 24-hour volume is greater than 50% of its total market cap, it shows that it's very overcrowded, right? There was a quote that always comes to mind when you're looking for shorts. And again, it's taken from stocks and TradFi. So stocks don't crash from market weakness. It doesn't crash from weakness. It crashes from strength that cannot be sustained. So the market needs people leaning the wrong way to fall hard. So you want to look for coins where there's a lot of trading volume, a lot of buyers in there, and you want them to be very offside, and that's how it crashes, right? That's why I'm calling it blow off shorts. So we need to compare its volume to market cap. So yeah, look, TradingView does have a market cap and FTV, except if you add it, yeah, like no data gets pulled there. So what I normally do is I just look at so I filter here to 100, and then I go look for resolve. So what's the trading volume? So I look at okay, let's look at resolve in esports. I'll go back to here, resolve. Let's look at resolve. Okay, resolve. Okay, just by price action alone doesn't look like it's a blow off top, but it has short. So you want to look at trading volume relative to market cap. So, oops, sorry. So just now we can see that the market cap and FTV, I typically use market cap, but I also keep in mind FTV as well. So 40 million and about 130 million. So what's the trading volume, right? So what I did was I went to historical data. You can see here, okay, the volume. Yeah, in the last, yeah, it's so from about a week ago, a bit more than a week ago, you can see that volume was a lot more than FDV, right? You got 141, 130, 200 here. So that would have been flashing warning lights for me that to look at this as a short opportunity, right? So about a week ago. So today, so that's yeah, about a week ago. Yeah, but actually, yeah, so about a week ago, yeah, so from around here, sorry, when was it? So from 7th of November, 7th of November, when you see like extremely high trading volume relative to its market cap and FTV, 7th of November. Yeah, so around here, yeah, you would have started considering this as a short opportunity. Obviously, it ran up a lot higher, but it's something for you to watch, right? Um, so yep, so that's condition number two. Look at overcrowded trades by looking at the 24-hour trading volume relative to its market cap and FTV. So from 50% onwards, it's like from 50% onwards, it becomes a shorting, like it's on your radar for shorting. If it's more than 100%, um, if it's consistently 100%, and you want to look at for a trend, right? You want to look at consecutive days. If it's consecutively like more than 100%, then you're pretty sure that it should be shorted. If it's yeah, so 50 to 100 is when it gets on your radar. If it's more, the trading volume is more than its total FTV, that's when you know that it's getting very overcrowded and you're most likely going into short. That's second condition. The other one I look for is where is it concentrated? So come down here. Um, it's trade on dexes. Yeah, not much volume sectors. So this one I look for usually in the case with like is it being pumped in a single market, like let's say upbit. Then you know upbit it's upbit is just the Korean gamblers. There's a good shorting opportunities because they don't trade fundamentals, right? They just trade on temporary hype. But for the most cases, it's yeah, you want to see. So Binance, HTX is a bit suspicious. Yeah. So let's say, for example, if it's just Binance, Bybit, Coinbase, it's there's some sustainability in there, right? So I wouldn't necessarily short it immediately. And the other end of the spectrum, it was Upbit, or some of these like HTX, Gate, Mexi, like these small, if these kind of weird exchanges, if most of the volumes are occurring on there, I think it's a sign, a better sign for shorting. And then the last thing I look for is actually the context, right? The fundamentals. Were there any fundamentals of what was driving this up, right? Well, if it's hype, then I'm pretty certain I can short it. But if there was a fundamental reason for it, I don't know, like a technology upgrade or whatnot, then I know there's more stickiness to this upward price movement. So what I do is normally I just go to Twitter, search for resolve. Whoops. Resolve. Yeah, I normally skip these TA ones. The at current valuation manipulated. They did the same as resolve. Yeah, so context, part of context is understanding where something could be potentially a crime coin and manipulated, because you want to like you can't. There's too much jump risk, right? Participating in something that's could be manipulated. So if I see some signs of it being manipulated, then I kind of just avoid shorting it. They did the same resolve, so it might be manipulated by Binance. TA. Yeah, look, usually if you see a lot of TA, just means that it's just there's no fundamentals. I assume that means that there's no fundamentals. Catch out with Resolve, been following the project for a while and it's rather under the radar. Team seems to be doing everything right too. Fee switch, transparent buybacks. Okay, so then maybe there is a bit of fundamentals there. Found a coin with 0.5 a wise market cap ratio. Yeah, so there's a bit. I would say that there's a bit of fundamentals, but for the most part, it's just driven up by hype. So yeah, so I think it. Look, it's not strong. Like to me, this isn't like an absolutely for sure short, but there's a case to be made for it, right? Might jump into this short, very tight stop loss. Maybe a few days ago when these were flashing, right? Yeah. Yeah, so those are the four things. I know most of what I just went through, four conditions were outside of the trading view screener, but this always starts as your foundation, right? Um, over strong, and then volume relative to its market cap. So I just added this. So I'm just gonna have a quick look at it's sorry, just ignore this. Let's look at the daily chart. Yeah, see, so you've got the crossover. So the yellow is the fast moving average. That's the 20 EMA. That's the 50 SMA. It's above, price is above both. Price is above both. And then also there's the crossover. And then you've got quote unquote overheating in the RSI. So this is RSI, by the way. Sorry, let me just quickly show you the indicators. RSI, SMA, EMA. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So from a TA, if you're a TA trader, you can see that there's sort of a large resistance here where it last where there was a bit of a period of fair value, right? It's traded around this price level quite a lot, and it seems to kind of wick off that. So yeah, I maybe would short this very tight. It's worth it. Invalidated back at these highs, but really, how much downside do you have? Yeah. So like it's not a great yeah, it's not really a great structure for me to short. But yeah, this is typically what I'll do when I identify shorts. Let's have a look at esports. Ooh, okay, esports. Yeah. Okay, so in my mind, I'm thinking now it's been pretty steady, and then all of a sudden it just pop right off. Um, so what was driving this? Was it legitimate, like fundamentals? And then what was driving this move up? So let's just have a quick look. Esports. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Esports. Let me just have a look. Esports. What is Yudo Games? Let's see where it's traded. Yeah, okay. Red flags ready. Like I said, not Coinbase, not Binance, not Bybit. You've got these weird exchanges, L Bank, like less reputable exchanges. It's being traded on Dexes. Any Dexes? Just Pancake for 4.2 million. Actually quite high. So that's second to what? Yeah, second to L Bank. Yeah. Okay. What's this? Anomaly. Yeah. Okay. Um. Okay. So it is 50. So 60 million market cap. 350 million FDV. Let's look at its. Oops. Let's look at its daily trading volume. Would I short this? Nah. Doesn't look overcrowded. Okay. So the trade doesn't look overcrowded yet. Right. Big pickup though. Almost double. 6,000, 9, 10, and all of a sudden jumps almost 20. So it might be getting into that period of being overcrowded now. Um, so what was it? Yoldo? Yoldo? I'll search Yoldo as opposed to esports because I know esports you might pick up the actual esports company. Sorry guys, can't type. The microphone's in my way. Yoldo. Airdrop. What's next? Have you heard about esports from Yuldo? The token just spiked. Yeah, we know that. It's making waves. Okay, it doesn't really tell me what the fundamentals are. Let's have a look at the official gameplay. Yeah, one other benefit, guys, if when you look at a screen, if you see a consistent theme among these, like if both of these, if both of these, like if several things come up and you see a trend, like hey, they're all like GameFi projects, then you kind of that's sort of my narrative radar, right? Like for some reason, GameFi is now picking up again. But yeah, let's go back to Yuldo. Yeah, I can't see any fundamental reasons why it just popped up. Yeah, I don't know. Again, if there's no obvious fundamentals, then the assumption that it is hype, which means it's not sustainable. So I would expect this to pull back sooner than later. Airdrop. There's nothing to do with fundamentals. Halloween, phone wallpapers. Yeah, there's nothing really going on here. So yeah, this is definitely on my radar. Too short. Too short. But then again, is there a market even short? Like, is there even a market to short it? L Bank. I don't have an L Bank account. Ticket. Yeah, potentially a short. But yeah, this is the thinking that I'm having when I'm going through these tokens after using the screener. All right, guys. Yeah, so yeah, so that's identifying shorts. So we identified two possible shorts there, esports, and what was the other one? Actually, just fell off the radar. So maybe it doesn't even fit our criteria anymore. Um, yeah, it doesn't even fit our criteria. So at the moment, it's just esports. So that's identifying shorts. So that's the second use case. So we just before we went through market breadth to understand market conditions overall, whether we're risk on or risk off. But since we're risk off, I would look for I'd more focus on looking for short opportunities, right? Because so that's a sequence, guys. Number one, we would look at market breadth. Is a risk off or risk on environment? Because it's a risk off environment, then I'd prioritize looking at more shorts than I would longs. But now the third use case, let's look for longs. So momentum. Yeah, let's save this. Okay, long. So what are my conditions for longs? So with crypto, it's a momentum asset, right? So you want to usually trade with momentum, and then put a tight stop loss and just ride that momentum, right? So you want to identify momentum. So I want to look at things that are above RSI. It's above 50, right? It's crossed that midway chasm, and it's accelerating. I want to look at the crossover. So very similar to market breadth, where the 20 period EMA is above the 50 period SMA. So that's condition number two. And then also number three is I want to look at the context, right? Is that driven by fundamentals or is it driven by hype? What I do is also look at relative volume. So relative volume shows, yeah, okay, there's really no opportunities here. Yeah, because normally with relative volume, I want to see something that is starting to trade more than it has over the last number of days, right? So actually relative volume is less. If it's less than one, it means it's less than the previous day. The average of the previous days, sorry. Yeah, not the previous day, but the average of the last like 14 days. Yeah, so we just saw esports. So it's actually telling me that potentially we can ride that same momentum. So again, back to esports. If for example, so I always look at context. Well, if there was some fundamental reasons, if there was a fundamental reason behind what's driving this, I might actually top blasted, right? If it's a, but we saw that there wasn't really any fundamental drivers, anything that kind of hints to us that there's sustainability in the move up. Um, so I probably wouldn't, I wouldn't, definitely wouldn't long it. I would actually looking for, I'm actually looking to short this. But yeah, so in reverse, if there was some sort of fundamentals, I'll hop on the train. I'm a bit late to the move, but that's fine. I'll hop on and I'll set up a tight stop loss. Yeah, because we saw with the market breadth, we're not in risk on environment, so there isn't really much. What's this bonk? Let's just have a quick look at the price. GLM. Yeah, none of this looks good to be honest. But let's just for the sake of this playbook or over the shoulder, let's have a look at these. Let's have a quick look. Sorry, not bonk. This is Bob. Yeah, so I'm looking at this. It's overheated. So I was only like ideally it's only just starting to accelerate, so it's above the 50. Now it's looking like it's already cooling off, and you kind of potentially miss most of the move. But who knows? Like if it might, you could look for a short. Comes back down here a bit. Actually, sorry, I wouldn't look for a short because it doesn't fit my short criteria. But I might look for a re-entry, like a long entry somewhere, a bit further down here. But yeah, let's look at the context behind Bob. Is that the meme coin? Bob, 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 Bob. I'm hesitating because a whole bunch of things are going to come up for Bob. Yeah. How many Bob coins are there? Bob, Bob. Which Bob is it? So another clue I use is, where's that Bob? It doesn't have symbols. Sometimes like I'd cross-reference using the symbol. So GLM, I'd look for this logo. But Bob doesn't even have a logo for me to go off. So I don't even know. Is it build on Bob? Yeah, it's build on Bob. Just by the 20% gain. Build on BNB. Yeah, okay, it is. So this is the coin. Um, so let's look for build on B. Let's search for build on BNB instead. Fundamentals. Yeah, nothing, no fundamentals. Yeah, like this sort of stuff it's like red flags. Except this isn't about build this isn't build about Bob build on BNB, but I'm just saying in general these types of tweets are to me red flags. Hustle in silence, win loud. Bob. Let's have a look at it. The big builders CZ our chart is fire. Can you see the top? What are you talking about? Yeah, look, there's obviously no fundamentals here. So I don't think I would I wouldn't long this. Would not long this at all. Yeah, so what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just looking for any fundamentals which shows that that this price movement uh is sustainable, right? I want clues to hint that this will continue going up, and I'm not seeing it. It just looks like another, I don't know, like another hype pump or just because it's also such a small market cap. It's easily manipulated, particularly if it's relating to BSC as well. We know that there's a lot of price manipulation on that chain. So yeah, I wouldn't long this either, guys. So not really a long opportunity. What else were we looking at? Bob, GLM. Let's have a look at GLM. Okay, so yeah, so clearly broke, from a price action point of view, you can say that this was considered kind of fair value for quite some time, right? That's right, and it broke that, and now it's like trading above that, in and above it. So I'm asking myself, does this have potential to continue upwards, or is it just going to store at this zone, this sticky zone, right? And if it does go up, how much more legs? How much more legs do I have? Because if you look at the RSI, there's a bit of room for it to move still. So yeah, let's look at context. GLM. GLM. First of all, what is GLM? GLM. Golem. Golem. Such a dinosaur coin. Golem. GLM. Let's have a look again. Fundamental drivers, if any. Yeah, it's a bunch of TA stuff. Let's have a look at its official web, official Twitter. TA, just random TA stuff, charts. Yeah. Decentralized computing. Hmm. Yeah, nothing about this recent move up. Yeah, again, if there's no fundamentals, then it's like a, either fabricated pump or just it's manipulated, and now people are just jumping on with like a bunch of TA stuff after the fact, right? I'm just looking for indications to show that it will continue to move up. Yeah, this is nothing. How did he capture this? Yeah, 200 EMA. Yeah, that's not really a fundamental reason. Uptrend, yeah, so there's really, again, nothing. There's no fundamentals here. Announcements keep popping today. If you can't see any of the teams in person, be sure to follow. Our project doesn't farm bots. Okay. So Archive Network, it's powered by Golem. So some of these ecosystem projects. Our number one sponsor is Staking Summit. Don't tell me that's the fundamental reason, because Archive Network is driving it because they're sponsoring Staking Summit. To me, if that's the fundamental reason, it's a pretty weak one. So I wouldn't look too long, and I wouldn't look too short either, because it doesn't fit, my shorting criteria. It's not overheated. RSI wasn't above 70. Is it overcrowded? 200, 240 million in market cap and FTV. I'm sorry. Let's look at its trading volume. Yeah, no, nowhere near it. So that wouldn't satisfy my shorting criteria as well. So I wouldn't short either. So this is kind of just in no man's land. Yeah, right. Look, guys, I was hoping there was one potential shorting opportunity, and that was Yildo. Actually, it wasn't even, because we saw that the structure itself didn't offer a good. It was Resolve didn't offer a good shorting risk to reward, right? This is potentially a shorting, because this was a potentially shorting opportunity. Yeah, and in terms of longs, we already knew from looking at market breadth that we're not in a risk on environment, so I wouldn't have really prioritized looking for long opportunities anyway. Yeah, guys. All right. So yeah, I hope that helps. Just to summarize what we went through today, it is using the TradingView screener, which, again, as I said, if you're a technical analysis trader, it's absolute must. It allows you, it gives you that it allows you to filter the noise, the signals from the noise, and gives you the overall view of the market conditions, right? So we use it to look at market breadth. Market breadth, remember that being the percentage of how many coins are moving up, like driving the total market moving up or down. To understand whether we're in a risk on or risk off environment, we then looked at shorting opportunities, and then we then just now looked at long opportunities. So that's the 3 use cases for this screener. All right, guys, I hope you found that helpful. If there's any questions, as always, yeah, pop in the comments, reach out to me, and then yeah, I'll definitely help out where I can. All right, thanks, guys. See ya. Bye bye.